Look at that, no more broken shift knob. What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're actually not talking about the yellow Z. We're gonna head back over to Josh's house and give you guys an update on his red Z because there is a lot we've got to talk about. Catch you guys over there. Okay, update on Josh's red Z here. If you guys remember, this thing was supposed to be at Pacific Drift's Grassroots Drift Battle just last weekend. That was our plan, we were working towards it, and we had just started to work out the kinks and get this car running right. At least we thought so. And then it developed rod knock. And that was the night before the event, and we really didn't have any way to fix it, to take care of it, and we didn't think it was worth rolling the dice and going out there because the rod knock was already there. It wasn't gonna get any better, and it definitely wasn't gonna last through the event. At that point, it was just gonna cause more and more damage, and it wasn't worth doing. So here we are. It's been a week. The car's just been sitting on jack stands, and now it's time to come up with a game plan to see what's next. I don't actually remember how much we filmed or where we left off with the issues this car was having, but somewhere along the lines, an injector either got stuck open or the timing was wrong or something happened with the fuel system and it caused the injectors to fill the motor with fuel. That fuel got in the oil, thinned it out, and I believe that's why we lost the bearings and developed rod knock. And we did replace the fuel injectors with some spares that I had, and maybe it fixed the issue, maybe it didn't. We're not 100% sure, just because we had replaced them, fired the car up, and that's when we realized it had rod knock, and we didn't really dive too much deeper into it after that. So where we're at now is with a car that we think runs okay, but it may not, and a motor that really isn't gonna last us. So we have a decision to make. We can either throw bearings in this, cross our fingers that it will last for a while. We can pull the motor, do a full rebuild the correct way, or we can yank the motor and just put a known good engine in it. I will tell you we're definitely not gonna do the middle one. I don't think it's worth it to rebuild a stock VQ just because they're not tremendously expensive. It's easier just to buy a known good one, and there's so many out there, it's really not that hard to find. So that leaves us with either chuck some bearings in it and hope for the best or buy a new motor. I will say we did a tremendous amount of troubleshooting with this to try and figure out the issue. If you guys remember from the very first video, this car would start up, sound perfectly fine, and then stall either after you revved it or if you push the clutch in or pretty much anything that would change the idle. It would lower it just a little bit. It would stall. It wouldn't catch itself. We did an ECU relearn, a throttle body relearn, like I said, replace the injectors, crank sensor, coolant temp sensor, MAF, a couple of other things, and nothing really seemed to fix the issue. And then, as I had mentioned earlier, when we replaced the injectors, that's when we realized this thing has rod knock. And the reason we figured out there was so much fuel in it is because we changed the oil prior to replacing the injectors, and the oil was so thin and there was a lot of extra fluid in there. So definitely an issue there we have to resolve, or just get a new motor. I don't remember how much I filmed in the past, but it is kind of a bummer because we had just finished replacing all the suspension arms, tie rods, did a quick alignment, did a full bolt check, the back of the car was ready to go. We were in full track day prep while trying to iron out the kinks with this thing, and we really just lost all the wind out of our sails when we heard this thing start knocking. So, plan of attack for today is we're gonna drain the oil and see what it looks like. Now, the first time we drained the oil, it looked really bad. Like I said, there was quite a bit of fuel in it, and there was also quite a bit of metallic sparkles, and it really didn't look good, and at this point, I'm not surprised that it got rod knock after looking at it. But looking at the oil a second time is gonna tell us, A, did we fix the fuel injector issue, or is it still full of fuel? And B, is there more metal in there? Because if there's more metal in there, I don't think replacing the bearings is gonna be an option, at least not without doing a full rebuild, and like I said, I don't wanna go down that road. So we've already got the thing up on jack stands. Let's chuck a pan under there, drain the oil, and see what it looks like. I just went and grabbed this drip pan, and it's empty, but let me show you what's in there from the last oil change. Yeah. I know I haven't drained the oil yet, but just looking at that makes me think there's really no chance of us replacing these bearings. Anyways, let's drain the oil and see what we're looking at here. Well, at a quick glance, that looks pretty shiny. All right, well, good news. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of fuel in the oil, but there's a lot of metal in there. One thing to note too, that oil saw maybe 10 minutes of runtime, if that. So to see that much metal in it is really concerning, and it kind of solidifies the fact that I don't think we'll be able to just slap bearings in this thing and call it a day. I mean, yes, we could, but I really don't think it would be worth all the work. I think after we did it, put it back together, got it running, it would maybe last a little while. I would be surprised if it lasted an event with how much damage is done there. I think the crank really has to come out and get resurfaced. Who knows how the rods look? And like I said, at that point, it's a full rebuild, and that's not something that's worth getting into, at least in my opinion, when you can buy these motors for not terribly expensive. They have gone up quite a bit. They used to be $400 or $500 motors. Now they're closer to $1,000. But to get something you know is going to run, and half the time you could find them with a warranty or verified mileage or all kinds of stuff. But it's going to be a whole lot easier. It's going to get this car out on track a whole lot faster. So look forward to that coming soon, I guess. As I mentioned in a later clip, this is Josh's first experience with a project car. And I have to say, he's taking this whole situation really well. When we first got the car, he said, for this price, even if it ends up needing a new motor, I'm not going to be upset about it. And me being optimistic and I guess naive, said, oh, it's no big deal. I guarantee you it'll be something small. And maybe it was something small that cascaded into this whole fuel in the oil and spun bearings, and who knows. But at the end of the day, he's been taking it like a champ, and it's definitely making this whole journey a lot more fun. I can't wait to finally get him out on track because I think he's really going to enjoy it. And at this point, he's definitely going to deserve it. All right, so we are prepping to pull this motor out. We're going to hold off on that until we actually have the new motor here, but thankfully it has been ordered. Tell us a little bit about this motor you found, Josh.
Okay, so I spent maybe 2 hours shopping around, went on a couple different websites, and some of them give you exact prices. Most of them will ask for information and have someone either call or text you. But I ended up finding something that was a direct import from Japan, supposedly. It's got 42,000 miles on it, and it comes with a 3-year warranty. And it came out to a $1,150 delivered. So really not too bad for what we're working with. Delivered warranty, real low mileage motor. I'm pretty happy with it.
As I had mentioned in a previous clip, these motors used to be really cheap. And while they're not that anymore, I think that that is a really good deal. And doing some looking around and some homework of my own, that's definitely a hard deal to beat. I mean, $1,150 delivered to the house with a 3-year warranty is really unheard of. So like he said, we're actually both really excited to get that new motor in this thing and get this thing finally out on track. All right, so I wanted to get some words here with Josh to kind of see where he's at here, because as we've mentioned in previous videos, this is kind of his first dive into project cars, and it ended up being a bit deeper of a dive than I think either of us anticipated. So what are your thoughts, Josh? How do you feel in this whole scenario?
Well, there's nothing fun about a motor going bad and having to put more money into the car, but it was planned for and potentially expected, so not a huge deal, not a big disappointment, just seems like another step in the journey. So looking forward to getting the new motor in.
That's right. We are definitely looking forward to getting a new motor in this thing. And like he said, it is a step in the journey. It's definitely a step a lot of us have taken. And if you haven't taken the step of doing a motor swap yourself, unfortunately, it's probably coming at some point. Anyways, guys, I'm going to wrap this video up because there's really not a whole lot left to talk about. But make sure you subscribe because we are getting an engine for this thing in just a couple days. And we will have this thing up and running. And I guarantee you it will be at my event on June 3rd in Apple Valley. So do not forget to sign up, or at least make it out there, because it's going to be a really fun event. We've got a lot planned for it. So I hope to see you guys there. As always, thank you for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And of course, I'll catch you in the next one.